Welcome to the Master Your Millions podcast, the show all about your financial potential and leaving a legacy for future generations. Here are your hosts, Jason and Scott Henderson.
Super excited to have you back on today's show. We are extremely pumped for our guest today. Jason, who do we have coming on?
Well, Scott, today I have a friend that I've known kind of a little bit for a little while, and yet he has some good things, I think, to offer the world and people. And so I invited him on the show, and his name is Jeff Krahl. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He helps successful entrepreneurs and business owners build their ideal business so they can live their ideal life, which is attainable through the fifth power formula. I'm sure we'll talk about that. Jeff Krahl, international business consultant, corporate strategist, best-selling author, and certified high-performance coach with over 25,000 plus hours of empowering clients and breaking through their limiting beliefs so they can live their ideal life. Jeff, thanks for coming on the show today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to be here.
So tell us a little bit how how you got into this and what was sort of the impetus that made you think that, I have the talents and the tools to help people this way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's quite interesting. Originally when I got into coaching, I wanted to be a financial advisor. So, I went into the industry to be a financial advisor after 9/11, and all these companies hired me. They all wanted me, all the different brokerages and agencies that were out there. And I realized that, why is that? And a lot of it had to do with either two things, the way it came to my mind. Either one, they were poor at, hiring, right? Or I was the greatest person in the world, So I didn't think I was really the greatest person in the world. I mean, I had good qualities, but I was still pretty young, and I was still thinking, how could that be? And so I started looking into it, and I was like, well, they're really not good at recruiting, because they look at what they throw a whole bunch of darts out there and see what sticks and how many people. And so I started to look into it, and the nutrition rate and all, the training was not as good, and all these things that they promised. You started to wonder why is it that most people don't make it as an advisor? And so I started to realize that, hey, maybe I should get trained before I actually do that. And I looked up one of the top influential trainers in the industry for the financial industry. And I went to work. I went to interview him to talk to him about training. And he actually hired me because he was looking for a coach and he was looking for consultants. And he said, hey, I will teach you how to be successful in building smart businesses. And so I was his little mentor and consultant, and I absorbed tons from him and all of his mentors. And that got me into the industry, and
how was it that you had experience to mentor him? I mean, you just said you were young and not too much experience. What was it that he saw in you that he thought, oh, this guy can mentor me?
a lot of it dealt with my past. So I opened businesses at a very young age. So right out of college, my junior year, I actually left college my junior year, at the end of my junior year, before my senior year, to open up a corporate housing business in kind of the northwest area of Portland, Oregon, and then later Seattle. And so I met a gentleman in high school that I worked for in the corporate housing industry. They hired me to do delivery work and stuff like that. And then when we had an opportunity to expand, I was the number one candidate to do it. And I said, hey, if you just drop ship me in Portland and let me build the business. I can build it better than we did at the time I lived in Arizona, in Phoenix. And so he did that, and that became the most profitable store. Then we did the Seattle store. Then we did Denver, Colorado, and all these stores I would build from scratch and make them profitable. And
Tell our
so I had
listeners,
a lot of
tell our
business
listeners in like
experience.
3 sentences. Tell our listeners in like 3 sentences what that is. Corporate housing. What
Corporate
is the
housing,
business?
yeah. So corporate housing is basically when a corporation or a business needs to bring someone in for a short period of time, anywhere from a month, 3 months, 6 months to a year. They fully furnish apartments, with everything in it. So literally they just bring their clothes and they can live there for a year. There's everything from, just all the furniture, all your sheets, all your bedding, everything in the kitchen. It's just a fully furnished a unit, kind of like Airbnb nowadays. Everything's there. You could live there for a whole year if you really needed to. And so that's what I did. I furnished all those things.
I see. So it's building on that experience then is what this guy saw that you could be his mentor, and he got you into the coaching business.
And he got me into the coaching business. And so he wanted to mentor me. And he did. He trained me and coached me how to be successful in the financial industry. And so that's what I taught for a lot of times is I help financial advisors build their ideal business, and to the point where they didn't have to work, 50-hour work weeks. They were working somewhere around 25, 30-hour work weeks.
Love it. So you do have
So-
quite a bit of back. Go ahead, Scott.
I was going to say, while we're on that topic, what's kind of the number one mistake that you see some of these financial advisors or even some of the other businesses make?
Yeah. The biggest mistake most business owners make is they don't build their business like they're going to sell it. So most of the time, business owners just they build it from challenge to challenge to challenge to challenge. And they don't actually take the end in mind, right? And start to look at like, hey, I want to sell this business, for $10 million, and then start to look backwards on how to actually get there and do that. So the number one mistake is always not building it to sell, even if you never sell it. Most business owners never want to sell their business anyhow, but they never look at it from that filter of how do I fill all these gaps ahead of time to be that to build a solid foundation, to have your ideal business.
Let's see. And so what
Yeah.
are some of those gaps? Because I know a bunch of business owners that are just what you're talking about. And
Yeah.
a lot of them even know that they're stuck in that, but they don't know, say, the first hire or where these holes are because they don't know any different.
Right, exactly. And that's typical for entrepreneurs, right? And business owners that just jump in. We don't really know. We just kind of go with the flow, and it's one challenge after the other. The biggest one in the beginning is always trying to have the type of mindset that doesn't hold you back from getting the results that you want. So there's 3 types of things that I call resistance. They're the deadly, invisible resistance that shows up, right? And so those things are doing everything on their own. So as entrepreneurs and business owners, if we're not satisfied with something or we're not getting something, we put our heads down and we work harder. And that's how you get into that, 40, 50, 60-hour work weeks, is because you try to do everything on your own. And that gets overwhelming and frustrated, and you get burned out and everything. And that's that internal mindset that that you have some sort of belief that you're the only one in the world that can do it and get it done correctly. And because of that, you get stuck into that part of the business. The other one is all the naysayers that are out there that tell you, oh, you can't do that, or that's not possible, or you're crazy doing those things. All of that type of aspect. When you don't have the right community around you, you get a lot of resistance from team members, employees that you hire, from every personal person in your community around that. And that's another resistance that stops them. And then the last one I like to call a shiny object syndrome. You get pulled within the business through all sorts of different things, like this is the best marketing, and this is how you need to hire and recruit people, and this is how you do that. And you get pulled to all these separate things, and you're getting distracted from the main goal of building the business from the foundation up correctly. And because of those three resistance, you find yourself either overwhelmed or just frustrated about, should I do this? Should I not do this? Is this the right time? Is this not the right time? And without really having a clear vision of what that is and what steps you need to take along the journey, and to stay focused on that journey, which is another key thing, which is missing, is accountability. Like once you have that vision, having the accountability to not let any of those other distractors stop you, ends up to be a very powerful way.
You have behind you a fifth power, which sounds like maybe a trademark thing that's part of your system. Do you want to describe that for us a little bit, what that means? I mean, because we've said many times in other episodes, and kind of talking to the listeners, that this podcast is all about accumulating, enjoying, and passing on millions. And when you listen carefully to the outro, we say that mastering your millions all starts with your mind and your team.
Yeah, so true.
Mindset is such a huge part for entrepreneur. The four things you went through in answering Scott's question. Some of them I guess I'd say maybe all of them could be tied back to mindset. So I'm assuming that your fifth power might have something to do with that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the fifth power is achieving results beyond your belief. Okay. And it is part of the mindset aspect. So I have 5 key elements inside our process. So the first one is the power of clarity and focus. The second one is the power of asking and community. The third one is the power of planning and preparation. And then the fourth one is the power of action and reflection. And the secret power, which is all about the mindset, is the fifth power. And that fifth power has 4 different elements to break through that resistance that I walked through. So those resistant pieces about, your own internal mindset, the naysayers, and all the other shiny objects that are out there, to break through those and not let those things distract you from staying focused on your vision, is the fifth power. And there's 4 elements to that. So one is having that unshakable mindset, that unshakable way of thinking, meaning you have enough powerful beliefs in yourself, and that no matter what people say, no matter what you tell yourself, you're telling yourself more powerful things to drive yourself forward. And that's the first major element that's key to having, is that unshakable mindset. The second one is having a purpose, like having a core purpose that drives you. Like for me, I have, through integrity, fun, and happiness, that I empower myself and others to live an extraordinary life beyond their beliefs and live a life of endless possibilities. And I'm always driven inside my purpose. Like when you ask me to do this podcast, it's like, of course, is it going to empower others to go beyond their beliefs? Is it going to, allow me to fulfill on my purpose by sharing what I know? Right. And if the answer is yes, then I want to keep that inside of, what I do. So purpose is another key thing to having that strong mindset and what I call the fifth power. And then the third element is having performance habits. So I think performance habits are key, and more importantly, consistent performance habits. And some of the top influential people around the world were all done in a big study by the High Performance Institute. And what they found is like focus, energy, courage, influence, productivity, your physiology are all key habits that you need to consistently be doing that will allow you to be your best self and produce your best results. And so habits is another key element of that fifth power formula that I teach. And then the last one is to be in intentions, like to have an intention for the moment that you're in. And so what I mean by that is like when you go to a meeting or when you're talking to your employees, are you just walking in there and winging it? Or are you actually showing up with some sort of intention of how you're going to be as your best self in that moment? Are you going to be bold in that meeting? Are you going to be authentic in that meeting? Are you going to be present in that meeting? What is it that you choose to be in the moment versus letting the brain automatically, unconsciously have you show up based off of what's in front of you, right? So you get to choose. And those four key things all together to me is when you're in that flow. You're in that state of flow that people talk about where everything seems to be working, meaning you have that unshakable mindset to, stop any resistance that comes in and be able to get the results that you want.
Love that. You have said a couple of times that achieving results beyond your belief. What do you really mean by that?
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
that's a little bit, I think I know what you're saying there, yet I want a little bit more clarification.
yeah, no, that's a great question. So, in basic psychology, we know that how the human brain works and how we operate is through beliefs, right? And those beliefs we have captured throughout our lifetime. It's how our brain works. It sucks in that data of the beliefs that you visually saw, and primarily most of those have been, absorbed into us from the, age all the way up to age 8. So there's these beliefs that we create, and then those beliefs lead to thoughts that you say to yourself and to others. And then those thoughts that you say to yourself and to others lead to your emotions and your feelings about those thoughts, as well as your physiology, like how you physically stand and structure yourself. And all of that dictates how you take the actions. Like the most common thing I hear in coaching is, hey, Jeff, I've tried this, I've tried this, I've tried that, I've tried everything. Right. And the bottom line is most of the time people spend their time changing actions, not changing their mindset. And that is the key thing. Did you try changing your mindset and then doing that same action? And the answer is like, no. It's like, no, I did the action with my best mindset. And it's like, well, then your best mindset must be grounded in the wrong type of belief, typically some sort of limiting belief that's there. And if you don't change that first, then you're not going to change the result of those actions. Right. And so there's been plenty of studies done. I like the ones on Olympic athletes. I think there was a study done where they wired up their brains, and had them visualize, what it was like to win a gold medal, right? And visualize them doing their routine, and you could see that the brain couldn't tell the difference from the visualization as well as actually doing it. Like they couldn't actually tell the difference. The way it fired up inside their brain was exactly the same way of emotions and thoughts that came through of actually winning. And so because of that, your brain can't tell the difference. So the more you can visualize it, the more it can actually happen, because the brain already thinks it's done it before. And that changes the core belief that maybe I can't win the gold medal, or I'm not good enough, or all these things that try to, come in to prevent you as resistance from getting the results that you want.
So,
And
so
I think
something like my business will only ever do $1 million a year,
yeah,
right?
that
And so,
belief, right? The
you
more you
changing that, it
say
really
that,
can be a 10 million or 50 million. I can do whatever. That's what you're saying, that you changing
yeah,
those core beliefs and then
absolutely.
having going beyond that.
Yeah, because if you think about that, right? My business can only do $1 million, right? Then your brain wants you to always win. Okay. So it's looking to go, well, if you can always only do $1 million, then we got to keep it that way. And it keeps your thinking that way, which keeps it very limited, right? And so if you start to say, hey, what would it look like for my business to be at 10 million? And what would I have to do to be able to make that happen? Now you're at least opening up the possibilities of breaking through that $1 million ceiling that you're at. And again, a lot of it is changing the belief first before trying to come up with some strategy or action plan to get to 10 million. You got to change the belief and the possibility that 10 million is a no-brainer. Like I can do 10 million, even if it's never been done, right? In your particular field or business or so on, you could always duplicate your $1 million business 10 times at worst case scenario, right? In 10 different areas.
Right.
Right. So there is ways. The key is what's the belief that's holding you in there? And most of the time we're just blinded from it. Like we just can't see it. Like that's probably the first thing, is when I set the foundation of your belief system and you get what I call your powerful fifth power beliefs. Once you have those grounded and you start reprogramming your brain to make those the new automatic process for yourself, then you start seeing possibilities everywhere. You start seeing growth everywhere. And you can see that ahead of time.
And you're saying it's pretty easy to see for an outsider. So you as an outsider coming in and can help people identify that where they're unable to identify it. Not that people are not smart enough, or not that they're not capable enough. It's too close to the problem, I guess, is what say, because so now we're going into team, we're talking about mindset here, yet we're starting to look and say, well, team, where's a key person of your team? Well, a key person of your team may be a coach, right? Regardless of what your business is, you need a coach of some sort. And I think a lot of people that have been on our podcast, a lot of people who listen to this podcast, they're in real estate. They're invested in real estate.
Yeah.
And they may not be considering that key person. We've interviewed people and said, oh yeah, one of my key persons was my key person of my team is a bookkeeper or a general contractor. Help me out, Scott. What some other people have said?
Certain mentor.
Huh?
a certain person to answer questions, a mentor of
Right.
sorts, or
A mentor or
there's
coach,
a bunch
right?
of different people. Mm.
Yeah.
Right. I see.
Yeah. On the investment side, I mean, that's exactly true. I mean, if you look at just from real estate investment point of view, and I used to be the CEO of Keller Williams in La Jolla, California, as the, luxury trainer for all the luxury agents there. And the investment side, when you look at investment side, again, we're all challenged with these resistance, right? Like, which type of investments do I do in real estate that are going to work? Which marketing do I do that's going to get that homeowner to sell, from a non-traditional way, or to acquire more leads for that, where there's more profitability in that. And there's all sorts of resistance that's going to show up if you have a limiting belief, right? Like, some people will go, well, hey, I'm not going to put signs out because that hasn't worked. I tried that before and I haven't done, and there's so many different things. Well, I've tried, online marketing, and I've tried Facebook, and I've tried all these things, but it's the belief that's there, right? And what is it that you believe about investing in real estate that's there? And if you can't change that first and really make sure that you're unstoppable with that mindset, it's very hard to get people's results. And that's why you see people where you give them advice on something in real estate, and one person like blows it out of the park, and the other person can't even get it started. It's just bad thinking that's inside that. It's not the process, it's the person that's the common denominator, which is yourself. And it's not about giving them the answer. Like I said before, like, I can see what the problem is ahead of time. It's really more about me asking you enough questions for you to see what that problem is, right? So the more you can see it and the more you can discover it, the faster you're going to be able to change it and use it as power for you to get the results that you want. If I just tell you, you're gonna go, oh yeah, I know that, or you're gonna say, oh yeah, I can do that, or I've done some of that, I'll do some more of that, all that other stuff that our brain will automatically do. But if you discover something like, oh my gosh, like, that's what I do, then that's where everything starts to change, right? And then it becomes accountability that's most important. Like, the biggest thing I think I hear all the time is accountability aspect, like how important that is.
Right. I'm certain it is, but particularly when you're a coach, if you can, come in and say, hey, you invested to have me around, yet you're not taking advantage of this, and you're not doing what you're being told, so to speak. Give us and maybe change the name to Protect the Guilty. You're going to give us a quick story of maybe a business owner that you came in, saw some limiting, attempted to help them, and then they went the different way and are still stuck, versus someone else that made the change, maybe in a similar industry, and 10x or something. Can you give us an example of something like that?
Oh yeah, like I've worked with, well, let's see, let's talk about well, I've worked with a couple different marketing agencies, okay, and I know in that realm a lot of them won't focus on mindset. Like, they're like, I already understand that, and I'm good with that. Here's where we need the help, right? Like, business owners are a lot of times saying, this is where I want you to help me, even though you can see there's gaps that are there. And if you took it in from a real estate perspective, it's like a homeowner telling you, hey, I need you to make this like this, and I want that like that. And you're just like, well, if we do that, I can do that, but the foundation of that is still going to not hold it. And eventually it's going to come down. Right. And so a lot of times the owner, the business owner, the owner of the house, whatever, they have the vision of what they want. But if they don't have the right foundation and they don't want to see it, then it's just going to crumble down no matter what. And so I had a marketing agency, for example, where they came to me for sales, and I gave them some sales tips, and they had some little growth around it. But it wasn't until I shifted their mindset, and I said, okay, well, let's do something a little different. And I walked them through my fifth power formula. I walked them through everything. And for months, they got no results. They were making somewhere around $28,000, $29,000 a month of revenue. And by the time they shifted their mindset, not only did they have more confidence of what they were doing, and they had more grounded, like, belief inside of their product. We tripled the price of their product, and they went from a 25% conversion rate to a 52% conversion rate. And we're now making an average of about $290,000 in recurring revenue, and a best of $350,000 in 1 month. Like they went from 28,000 in revenue per month to 300,000 above, per month. And all they did was increase their price, change their mindset, and change the words that they were saying to their clients. And they couldn't have the belief that that was possible for them. They needed a coach and someone like myself to give them that belief, to teach them how to develop it themselves. So they too had the same belief that I did, which was a higher, powerful belief for them that they just couldn't see. It was blinded. It was way beyond their beliefs. There was a ceiling to that. And so they went way beyond that, and now they're consistently, like I said, well over the 290,000 every month now. So
easily a 10x. That's really cool. Tell me what kind of industries or what kind of businesses would not be a fit for your fifth power?
Believe it or not, so far I haven't found an industry that hasn't been. I've worked in the with steel companies. I've worked with publishers. I've worked financial advisors, real estate agents, real estate investors, all over across the board, corporations. So to me, it really is a belief. And the funny thing is I actually use the same fifth power formula to find my wife. Like, it just works when you change your mindset, and you use the formula. It doesn't matter what it is that you're up to, it's gonna elevate. And whether you're working with a business owner, whether you're working with a sales team, whether you're working with the whole corporation and their culture, they have to all be on the right mindset, because there's always those negative naysayers inside the business that, again, are going to hold everyone back. And if someone doesn't have a powerful mindset to stop that, then it is going to slow the results of the business.
I suspected that's how you were going to answer. I mean, as I'm sitting here listening to you, I'm thinking of a few people that I know that, like a friend of mine that owns a grocery store. I thought, you know what, he could benefit from that. Truly could change the amount of sales that's going through his store, right? Another one, a guy that has a clinic and feels like he's the only one that can make it rain at the clinic, right? When he's not there, the clinic doesn't do. And right now, that's true. It really doesn't. However, being able to make it so it does rain when he's not there, so he can take his wife to Europe for a few days, seems like to me as a better thing to do. And so
that's what I mean by living your ideal life, right? I mean, most of the time we build a business to live our ideal life, but then we never have the time and the ability to live the ideal life because we're so much into the business, and we become so attached to be the only one to be in that business to be able to do that. So it's a matter of shifting the mindset and then shifting the strategy and the plans around that to build upon. Like I said, you start with the end in mind and work your way backwards, find all the gaps and start filling them in the most appropriate order, even if it doesn't make sense right away.
I love that. We need to kind of wrap up. It's been awesome, Jeff. I really appreciate it. This has been better than I thought it was going to be, actually. And I think a lot of people will really like this episode, and hopefully those that are listening, you'll like and subscribe. You'll leave us a review, say some things about what you thought of this episode. That would be awesome. We're going to, in the show notes down below, give you the opportunity to, like some links and stuff to get a hold of Jeff and his business in the event that you felt like that was beneficial to you, and we'd love for that to happen. Give us a 1 or 2 minute parting words, Jeff, just something that you would say out to people. I don't care if it's advertising, saying, hey, I'm the greatest guy there's ever been, come and talk with me, whatever. Just tell us a little something to kind of send us off.
Yeah, no worries. So I think the biggest thing is again, just always believe that there's another ceiling that you just can't see yet, right? There's another floor above you, and it just seems like the ceiling that's there is the top. And it really isn't, because once you break through that ceiling, there is an opening that's much more available. I like to always use those clouds, fog, like driving through fog, right? When you have a coach or a GPS is teaching you how to go through fog, you can start slow, but once everything clears up and your beliefs open up, you can drive as fast as you want, right? There's no limiting belief that holds you back driving slow. Once that fog clears out, all those limiting beliefs are gone, and the only thing out there is blue skies, driving towards your ideal business that allows you to really live the ideal life that you want. So challenge yourself to just open up, right? And know that there's always a ceiling as long as you change that belief first.
Cool. Love that. Scott, any words from you?
No, I think you wrapped it up great. Thank you for coming on, Jeff. Really appreciate having you.
Thank you for having me. Love to help. And if there's anything else you guys need more about, just by all means, reach out.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, guys, thanks for joining in. As Jason said, please make sure to leave us a review. It really helps us out here. And again, we will leave all of the contact information for Jeff down below in the show notes. And last, remember that mastering your millions all starts with your mind and your team. Make sure they are the best. We'll catch you next week.
Thanks for listening to Master Your Millions with Jason and Scott Henderson. Check the show notes for any links or contact information about today's guest. Make sure to follow the show so you don't miss any future episodes.